I'm so tired. No, but actually, I'm not even kidding. I am so dead inside right now. I've just come off of a cold, and I came to film this video honestly with no makeup on, and then I saw myself and I was like, I am death. So I quickly 5 minutes ago just put whatever the fuck you can call this makeup look on just to look like a human being. What up, YouTube? My name is Carly Fries, and today I'm going to be talking about the books that I read in February of 2017. And there were quite a few books that I read, but only from 2 series, so there's not going to be that much to talk about. So the first books that I read this month are A Court of Thorns and Roses and A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I was going to pretend that this was the actual book by putting the cover on top of another book, but I quickly realized that there's no other book as thick as A Court of Mist and Fury. I couldn't have fooled you, so I'm just gonna let you know that it's currently with my boyfriend right now because I've been forcing him to read these books because of how good they are. Spoiler, they're good books. I was gonna get to that in a second. Every single day that he gets home from work, because he reads on public transit, I read on public transit because it's the only time that we have to read, he gets home and I'm literally like, do you like it? Is it good? Who's your favorite character? What part are you at? I'm literally, I just want to hear about what he's thinking because of how much I enjoy this series. So let me actually tell you about it. So basically, A Court of Thorns and Roses and A Court of Mist and Fury are the first 2 books in one of Sarah J. Maas's series. I know that the next book is coming out in May. I don't know how many books there are supposed to be in the series, but so anyway, what this book is about is a girl named Feyre who is poor and living with her family in a village that's nearby to the Fae realms. So basically fairies have been, living in proximity and looming over the human world for hundreds and hundreds of years. So Feyre takes it upon herself to go hunt for her family's survival, and one day she ends up killing a wolf in the forest, which turns out to be a fairy that was just disguised as a wolf. So then this other fairy shows up at her house demanding retribution for this other fairy's death, and he decides to take her back to the fairy realms to live with him as kind of retribution for what she did. So she has to go live in the fairy realms for the rest of her life, and she can never see her family again. So what did I think of this book? Yeah, I don't want to spoil it, but basically the love story. The love story in these books. Okay, well, a lot of people say that A Court of Mist and Fury is better than A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I have to say 110% I agree, but A Court of Thorns and Roses is fucking fantastic. So that just means that A Court of Mist and Fury is one of the best books that you'll ever read is basically what I'm getting at. Sarah J. Maas is really good at creating a world and characters that you really like. I don't understand how she does it, if she's putting subliminal messages or something into the first book, but I don't know about you guys, but I like Rhysand in the first book, even though he's supposed to be one of the villains, but I like him, and I don't know if that says something about me. I mean, I always like the bad characters anyways, so I mean, I don't even know who I'm trying to fool right now. But or is there subliminal messaging going on in the first book so that subconsciously you kind of like Rhysand, so that in the second book you're fuck yeah, Rhysand, because you will be like that in the second book. So his name's Rhysand. When I found out that his name was pronounced Rhysand and not Ricehand, I threw a fucking fit. It bothers me, because when you shorten his name, it's R-H-Y-S, so I'm Rice, Ricehand, but it's Reese, Rhysand, and I don't know, it bothers me. I'm almost as mad as I was when I found out that Hermione wasn't Hermione. I was 7. It was devastating. like I said, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't read it because like your mind is gonna be blown. I just can't get over how head over heels in love I've fallen with this series. And I mean, I shouldn't have been surprised because all you hear is great things about it, and like that's all I've heard, that the series is bomb. I was definitely worried that I was gonna go in with like my expectations so high and like be a little disappointed. Then when it was that good, I was like, fuck yeah. Another book series that I read in February was the Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard. So I read Red Queen and Glass Sword and the newly released King's Cage. I believe this came out in February. I just saw it and bought it and was like, oh hey, how you doing? So unlike A Court of Thorns and Roses, which, you know, I've heard a lot about and was like super relieved that it was like, it met my expectations, there's been a lot of hype surrounding Red Queen and I don't think it deserves it. I find myself complaining a lot about like, you know, the poor girl who's just normal and, you know, living a shitty life in the slums, and then all of a sudden, oh my god, she's special, and now she has like powers, or she's like the face of revolution and she's gonna change the world. And honestly, you see that so much now in YA fiction. It started with like Hunger Games and Divergent, and I find that Red Queen is literally just like a mix of those two, and every other book that the poor little girl, you know, becomes special and important all of a sudden. And I mean, I guess the reason why it's overused is because it's like a good design to like model your story on. Like, I guess it's a tried and true, you know, type of story that people like to hear about. So I mean, I can't blame authors for continuing to like use it. Red Queen is about Mare Barrow, who lives with her family, and she basically steals for a living because she doesn't have a job. She's not trained in anything. So basically she knows that when she's 18 she's going to go to war, because if you're unemployed that's basically what happens to you. But her sister's kind of the breadwinner of the family because she's able to like sew these like beautiful like outfits for the rich people. Then one day, Mare steals from someone, and she basically ends up stealing from the future king without knowing it. Yeah, so Mare like breaks down in front of him and like starts talking about literally her whole life and all of her problems right now, and he takes pity on her, and he basically goes back home to the palace and immediately requests that she start working there so that she can take care of her family. She's taken to the palace the next day and starts working as a servant there, but there's an accident and she like kind of falls down onto an electrical like dome, and she doesn't die, which she should have, and it's revealed that she has these powers. And the thing about the Red Queen world is that Mare is a red, she bleeds red blood, she's normal. But there are people in her world, the people who are in power, the rich people, who are silvers, and they bleed silver blood, but not just that. They have all of these powers, so that makes them special, that makes them worth more than red people, which is why the reds are the soldiers, the ones who go to war, even though it's really a silver war. So there's this whole problem with the way that society is built. So when it turns out that Mare has powers but she's red, the king and queen decide, okay, well, we're gonna tell the public that you're actually silver and that you were born into a red family, so we're gonna hide the fact that you're red with powers because we don't know what it could mean. Like, you could basically start a revolution if all these reds think all of a sudden that they're like just as important as silvers. And Mare only goes along with it because if not, she's basically gonna be like executed, because nobody wants a red going around with just as much power as a silver, obviously. Duh. People can't be the same. The rest of the book series is about a red revolution trying to stop the war and trying to make people equal, and it turns out that Mare isn't the only one like her who has these kinds of powers and is not a silver, so that just kind of like adds the spark that they need in the revolution to say, hey, you know what? Like, it's not just reds and silvers, you know, it's so much more than, it's about so much more than that. We're more alike than you think, you know? and I'm not going to spoil it, but after the first book, it gets a lot more complicated than that. You'll have to read the books to see for yourself why. Good book series. I didn't hate it. It's just based on the amount of hype that Red Queen was getting. I was like, okay, this is going to be a really good book series, and especially fresh off of reading A Court of Thorns and Roses and A Court of Mist and Fury. No matter what, any book that I read after that was not gonna be great. So those are the books that I read in February. I'm so tired just from sitting up for like 15 minutes. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment down below what books you read in February, whether you've read any of these book series, what did you think of them, and subscribe to my channel if you want more book related videos. And as always, I will see you in my next video. I promise next time I'll be a little more lively and animated. It's just that right now I literally want to die. Bye!